Alright, hi there everyone. My name is Grace Malone, and here today I'm going to be informing you about the history of the miniskirt. And first I want you to think about what comes to mind when you think about the 60s or the 70s. Most likely it'll be either psychedelic rock, tie-dye, bell-bottoms, the like. However, I'm here to focus on the feminist movement, and more importantly, how the miniskirt became an unexpected catalyst within this movement. And I'm sure that all of us can agree that we look and feel better in certain outfits. For me, it is a specific pair of black jeans and a green top, which I'm wearing today. And think about what you're wearing now. Does it make you feel confident? Do you feel relaxed? Maybe even uncomfortable? How do your clothes make you feel? Now, I have been a feminist ever since I knew what the word feminist meant. And I also know there happens to be a negative connotation with that word. And as you can probably tell, I still wear makeup. I keep my hair long and I curl it. And I feel more empowered with these attributes than without, even though stereotypically that is not what a feminist will look like. And when I was younger, my mother always used to choose my clothes, and as I'm sure many of our parents did. And now think back when you were allowed to shop for your own clothes or dress yourself as a child. It may have been, mismatched or very bright colors. But as for me, I know that I was very confident the first time that I shopped for myself and was allowed to take the reins of my own style. And off that example, I'm going to give you a brief history of how the miniskirt was commercialized and in turn became a symbol of women's liberation. And first, the miniskirt was commercialized in the 1960s by a designer named Mary Quant, and she started working on the design in the late 50s at her boutique Bazaar, and that's on King's Road in London. She actually coined the term miniskirt herself after her favorite car, the Mini. And according to Khan, it was exuberant, young, flirty, and exactly right. She had no formal design training, and she didn't even have much experience in running a business. But by being inspired by the young women in her town of Chelsea, she had a sense of what women wanted at that time. And in an interview with Mail Online years later, Kant recalled that within 4 days, of course, after she had developed the miniskirt, she hardly had any of the original merchandise left. And the other thing that she was known for is she hated stiff fabrics, and her skirt that she designed was very easy to wear and reasonably priced at the same time. Now, something that may seem a little bit odd, Coco Chanel hated the miniskirt, and this was where some of that dichotomy between femininity and feminism began. Another female fashion pioneer regarding them as awful, as opposed to being supportive of it. Yet, despite all of that, it soon became the most popular fashion staple in London, Paris, and New York, which are the main fashion capitals. And they were worn by fashion models Twiggy and Jean Shrimpton, which were the arguably the most popular models in that era. And they helped bring the skirt from high fashion to the public. And after gaining popularity, the miniskirt became a symbol during the women's liberation movement, which is also referred to as the second wave of feminism. And now the second wave was also regarded as the sexual liberation. And in 1961, specifically, women were fighting for the right to birth control and the right to express their femininity as they pleased. And this smaller garment of clothing became a political symbol of defying the patriarchy, as well as, along with the more revered bra burning in the 70s. It became more of a message. And as Rebecca Arnold, who is a professor at the Courtauld Institute of Art, said, women are active and visible. And this is what the skirt was meant to convey. And author Jo B. Paletti explained this effect in her book, writing American Women's Fashions in the 1960s and 70s and today were the battlefield for these competing visions of the feminine. The first was a desire for the for an independent existence that is equal in political and social status to men. And the second was a very real drive to be sexual beings. Yet these were not separate strands at all. It was the very tension between these two impulses that helped drive fashion change during this period, and that made it so very complicated. And once again, in the 70s, again, that showed us more bell-bottoms and flowing garments. But once again, the miniskirts reemerged in the 80s and 90s and had evolved. This is around the time women started entering boardrooms and not as secretaries. And this is where we start to see the power suit, which is with the skirt and all. And in a less professional regard, the Spice Girls used the miniskirt to preach their own brand of feminism. A term they used was girl power later on in the 90s. And Baby Spice said it best in an interview: "Just because you've got a short skirt on, you can still say what you want to say. We're very strong." And so in review today, I covered the history of the miniskirt with you all. We now know how it came into mainstream fashion, and we know what symbol it became in the feminist movement of the late 60s and 70s. And today, women in particular still have to battle between being able to dress how they want and still being treated as equal to men in social and professional settings, even with legal protections in place. And, you know, there are legal protections again, but the social culture still creates that same battlefield as Paletti had mentioned, such as, and we see this regarded in slut-shaming or victim blaming in today's society primarily. And in regard to everyone, including the men who may be listening here, our clothing does play a very essential role in how we express ourselves and how we feel. So next time you're choosing your outfit for the day, no matter what you're wearing, miniskirt or not, as the Spice Girls would tell you, you can still do what you really, really want, and say what you need to say. Thank you.